Hello students and welcome. Today, we're diving into computer hardware, a very, very important topic for your exams. Trust me, by the end of this, all the important concepts will be absolutely crystal clear.
Okay, so to make this whole topic super easy to grasp, let's start with a simple analogy. Just think of a computer like a cricket team, right? Every single player has a specific role, and it's only when they all work together that you win the match. Simple as that.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to tackle each of these topics one by one, keeping it totally focused on what you need for the exam. Ready? Let's get started.
All right, let's jump right into our first section. It's time to really understand what exactly is hardware.
In the simplest terms, hardware is basically all the stuff you can physically touch and see. You know, things like your monitor, your keyboard, or even the processor that's tucked away inside your computer. These are all physical parts.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. We can actually divide hardware into two main types. First up, we've got internal hardware. This is all the stuff that's inside the computer case, the cabinet, like the motherboard and the CPU. And then you have external hardware, which, you guessed it, connects from the outside, like your mouse and your printer.
We can also break down hardware into four main categories based on what they do. You have input, output, storage, and processing devices. It's these four, all working together, that make up a complete computer system. Super important to remember that.
Okay, so we've got the hardware basics down. Now let's move on to the next big question. How do we actually give commands to the computer? Well, the answer to that is with input devices. So, simply put, input devices are just the tools that we, the users, use to feed data or instructions into the computer. Things like typing on a keyboard or clicking with a mouse. All of that is input.
On the screen here, you can see some really common input devices. I'm sure you're familiar with the keyboard, mouse, and webcam. But, and this is crucial for your exams, you absolutely have to remember the special ones, like OCR, which is optical character recognition, and MICR, which stands for magnetic ink character recognition.
Out of all of these, the most basic and honestly the most essential input device has got to be the keyboard. I mean, without it, entering text or numbers is pretty much impossible. That's why it's often called the primary input device. All right, so we've given the computer our input. But after it does all its processing, how does it show us the result? Well, that's where output devices come into play.
So what output devices do is take that processed data from the computer and convert it into a format that we can actually understand. You know, like displaying text on a screen, playing sound from a speaker, or getting a hard copy from a printer.
Here are some of the main output devices. The monitor, which is also known as a VDU, that's a visual display unit, is definitely the most common one. Besides that, you have the printer, speakers, and projectors, all really important examples of output devices. Now, let's talk about the types of printers, because this is a huge exam topic. First, you have impact printers. These are the ones that make a noise while printing, like an old dot matrix printer. Then you have non-impact printers, like inkjet and laser printers, which work almost silently. You absolutely have to remember this difference.
Okay, we've now arrived at what is probably the most important part of this entire explainer, CPU and RAM. The chances of getting a question from this section in your exam are extremely high, so please pay close attention.
This slide right here makes the difference crystal clear. The CPU, or central processing unit, is the brain of the computer. It handles all the calculations, makes all the decisions. RAM, on the other hand, is its temporary working memory. The more programs you run at once, the more RAM you need to keep everything running smoothly. But here's the catch. Data in RAM only stays there as long as the computer is on. Power off, and poof, the data is gone. That's exactly why we call it volatile memory. So, we've established that RAM is volatile, meaning it's temporary memory. This brings up a really important question. Where do we permanently save all our stuff? Our photos, our files, our games? Well, for that, we need storage devices. For permanent storage, there are two really popular options these days, the HDD and the SSD. The HDD is the older mechanical technology. It has actual moving parts, which is why it's slower. The SSD, however, is a newer, flash-based technology that uses memory chips. Because of this, it's way faster and quicker. Though, yeah, it is a bit more expensive.
Okay, that's enough theory for now. It's time to put our knowledge to the test. We're going to solve a few multiple-choice questions taken straight from the source material. You ready for this?
Read this question carefully. It's asking what kind of device is used to read the characters on bank checks. Now, this is a very, very common question in competitive exams. Take a moment, think about your answer.
And the correct answer is option C, MICR. Remember, checks have those special characters written in magnetic ink, and MICR technology is what's used to read them. Definitely lock that one in your memory.
All right, let's try another one. The OMR sheets you fill out in your exams. You know the ones where you blacken the little circles? What technology is used to check those? Come on, you should definitely know this one.
And the answer is, of course, option B, OMR. It's optical mark recognition technology that detects the presence of those marks or circles to check your answer sheet.
Before we wrap this up, I have one last question for you. Just think about this for a second. If the CPU is the computer's brain, what's the best one-line analogy for RAM? Go ahead and write your answer down in the comments below. It'll really help you remember the concept forever. And hey, if you found this explainer helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, let us know what topic you'd like us to cover next.